right, thanks guys. Another winning day yesterday. 3-1 in our premium plays on Patreon. That's going to put us at 26-13 in our last 39 Patreon picks. We're also 22-11 in our last 33 daily double plays on that Patreon site. Link for that site's in the description section below. That's patreon.com/rockpage. We also went 16-5-2 right here on YouTube in our YouTube leans. So definitely a great day, great way to start off the week. And let's look to get better. Hey, 3-1's good. Let's see if we can go 4-0 today, 5-0 today on Patreon. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into Tuesday's Major League Baseball action. We have a full slate here today, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. Beginning with the White Sox taking on the Tigers. 1:10 Eastern first pitch in Detroit. Now this is the first of a doubleheader here today between these squads. Detroit is -110 in game one. Totals at 9. We did see a nickel fade of Detroit and movement downward on the total. The Tigers open a $1.15 down to -110. Total open 9.5 down to 9 flat. 65% are leaning White Sox, 66% shaded toward the over. Right now the White Sox are plus $1 on the money line. The Tigers are plus 170 on the run line. We have Dylan Cease for the White Sox, Daniel Norris for the Tigers. Norris is just 3-8 with a 4.67 ERA and a 1.40 WHIP. Dylan Cease on the other side for Chicago, 27 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched. The Tigers have the worst record in Major League Baseball. They are 44 games under 500. They're just 32-76 overall for the year. They've also won just 13 out of 50 at home. They've dropped 9 out of their last 10 in the friendly confines. Now the White Sox on the other side, 5-2 in their last 7 when traveling. They've also won 5 out of their last 6 head-to-head matchups with Detroit. And when it comes to the total, the White Sox are 5-2 to the under in their last 7, 31-24 to the under when traveling. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. We went chalky yesterday. We got a good mix of underdogs here today, so just wait and you will see. But in this matchup here, I like the White Sox plus $1 as the road dog, getting the job done for some moneyline cash and the under 9 runs in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and once again welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Tuesday's Major League Baseball action. But before we get into that, just got to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website, patreon.com/rockpage, where we went 3-1 in our premium plays yesterday, 26-13 in our last 39 on that site, 22-11 in our last 33 daily double plays. Memberships begin at just $1.99 per month. There's also plenty of free content there as well, including my current record and many other categories as well. So check me out, patreon.com/rockpage. Link is in the description section below. All right, let's go ahead and move into some more games here. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got the Brewers taking on the Pirates, 7:05 Pittsburgh. The Brewers are -145, totals 9.5. Not a whole lot of movement on the total. We did see a 15-cent move toward the Brewers. They open $1.30 up to 145, totals 9.5. 70% are leaning Brewers, 84% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Pirates are plus 125 on the money line. The Brewers plus $1 on the run line. We have Chase Anderson for the Brewers, Stephen Breaux for the Pirates. Breaux comes into this game with a 4.15 ERA and a 1.57 WHIP. He also has 32 walks in 60 innings pitched. Chase Anderson on the other side for Milwaukee, 5-2 on the year, 3.73 ERA, 90 Ks in 94 innings pitched. Milwaukee is just 2 games back in that second wild card spot in the National League. They're 9-3 in their last dozen taking on Pittsburgh if you're into historical trends. They also rank 3rd in offensive walks on average per game. The Brewers are also 9th in striking batters out. Now the Pirates are 20th in scoring, 26th in walks allowed. They've won just 2 out of their last 15 ball games, ice cold right now. dead last in the NL Central, and they are now 16 games under 500. That is a shame considering that NL Central, everybody was within about 4 games of each other about a month and a half ago. But anyway, Pittsburgh just 48-64 overall for the year now. When it comes to the number, we have a Pirates team who's 7-1 to the over in their last 8, 38-16 to the over at home. I'm going to lean Milwaukee Brewers minus 145 in the over, 9.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Yankees-Orioles, 7:05 Camden Yards in Baltimore. No line currently posted for this game. We have Jonathan Holder for the Yankees, Asher Wojciechowski for the O's. Wojciechowski's 2-4 with a 4.15 ERA. He also has 11 bases on balls in just 34 innings pitched. Holder on the other side for the Yankees, 5-2 on the year, 44 strikeouts in 38 innings. The Yankees have the best record in the American League, 73-39 overall, 652 win percentage, 6-0 in their last 6 ball games. Baltimore on the other side, 10 straight losses taking on the Yankees. 0-10 in their last 10 head-to-head matchups with New York. They also rank dead last in runs allowed. Second worst team in Major League Baseball at just 38-74 overall for the year. So with all that said and done, needless to say, the Yankees will open up as the favorite. Give me the Yankees minus 1.5, getting the job done for some run line cash. All right, next game, Rangers, Indians. And that game is going to be a 7:10 Eastern first pitch at Progressive Field in Cleveland. The Indians are minus $2, totals at 10.5. We saw a nickel move toward Cleveland and movement upward on the total. The Indians open $1.95 up to minus 200. Total open 10 up to 10.5. 58% are leaning Indians, 69% shaded toward the over. Right now, Texas is plus 170 on the money line. The Indians minus $1.20 on the run line. We have Ariel Jurado for the Rangers, Zach Plesac for the Indians. Plesac is 6-3 with a 3.41 ERA and a 1.15 WHIP. Jurado on the other side for the Rangers, 6-6 on the year, 4.92 ERA, 1.43 WHIP. Cleveland is just 4 games back in the division, in that AL Central. They're also 2 games ahead in the wild card standings for that first spot. They're 14-6 straight up in their last 20. The Indians are also 20 games over 500 at 66-46 overall for the year. They're also 36-24 at Progressive Field, 4th in runs allowed on average per game. Now the Rangers on the other side, winners in just 23 out of 55 away from home. They've also won just 6 out of their last 18 taking on Cleveland. The Rangers rank dead last in striking out on average per game. They strike out a lot, really struggling to make contact. Now, total-wise, the Rangers are 30-25 to the under on the road. The Indians, 80% to the under in their last 5. I'm going to lean Indians minus 1.5 in the under, 10.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Angels, Reds. 7:10 Eastern first pitch at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Cincy's minus 145, totals at 10. Not a whole lot of movement in this one. We just saw a little bit of about a nickel move toward the Reds. They opened $1.40 up to 145. Total open and remains at 10. 51% are leaning Angels, and at the moment, Los Angeles is plus 125 on the money line. The Reds are plus 120 on the run line. We have Jose Suarez for the Angels, Anthony DeSclafani for the Reds. DeSclafani's 6-6 with a 4.07 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP. Suarez on the other side for the Angels, 2-2 on the year, 43 strikeouts in just 41 innings pitched. The Angels are 5-1 in their last 6 taking on the Reds. They also rank 9th in road hits, and they are first in fewest strikeouts at the plate when traveling. The Angels are 34-23 against the spread on the road. And of course, when I refer to the spread, against the spread, ATS, the number, covering, all that good stuff, I'm referring to the run line. So anyway, the Angels, once again, 34-23 ATS on the road, 9th in road hits allowed. Now, Cincy on the other side, they are 4th in the NL Central, 7.5 games back in that division, and that number is growing. That's not a good thing. They're also 1-4 in their last 5, taking on an American League opponent. They rank 23rd in scoring, 21st in walks allowed at home. When it comes to the number, Cincy's 80% to the under in their last 5, taking on the Angels if you're into historical trends. Cincy's also 34-22 to the under at home. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean Los Angeles Angels plus 1.5. And the under 10 runs in that game. Another underdog for me. All right, next matchup. White Sox Tigers. And that is the second game of our doubleheader. I guess they would call that a day-night doubleheader there. And let me see where I have that one. Same page. Wow, same page. White Sox open game 2, minus 105 total. I'm sorry, the White Sox opened game 2, minus 110 with the total at 10.5. We saw just a nickel move in that one. So right now the White Sox are minus 105. So once again, Chicago open $1.10, down to minus 105. Totals at 10.5. 74% are leaning White Sox, 73% shaded toward the over. Right now the Tigers are minus 105 on the money line. Pretty much a coin flip in this one, guys. We have Hector Santiago for the White Sox, Drew Verhagen for the Tigers. Verhagen is 1-2 with an 11.66 ERA and a 2.80 WHIP. Detroit has the worst record in Major League Baseball, like I said earlier in the show. They are just 32-76 overall for the year, 44 games under 500, 13-37 at home. They've also dropped 9 out of their last 10 in the friendly confines as well. Now the Tigers are 60% to the under, taking on teams averaging 3.9 to 4.2 runs per contest. Give me the White Sox minus 105 and the under 10.5 in that game, as I vouch for a White Sox sweep today. All right, next game. Blue Jays taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. And that's going to be a 7:10 Eastern first pitch in Tampa Bay. No line currently posted for this game. We have Trent Thornton for the Blue Jays, Andrew Kittredge for the Rays. Now, Trent Thornton comes into this matchup not with an overly impressive stat line, but he does have 102 strikeouts in just 105 innings pitched. Toronto's actually 6-2 in their last 8 on the road, and they're pretty good covering away from home. They're 34-27 against the spread when traveling this year, and they are 9th in runs allowed away from home as well. Now the Rays on the other side, they strike out a lot, really struggle to make contact. They are 29th in striking out at home on average per game, which is second to last in Major League Baseball. They're also 20th in runs scored at home, and they've covered just 26 out of 57 in Tampa Bay this year. So with all that said and done, Tampa Bay obviously will be opening up as the favorite. I can't lean towards them. I got to lean toward Toronto, plus 1.5, getting the job done for some run line cash. All right, next game, Kansas City taking on the Red Sox, and that is going to be a 7:10 Eastern first pitch at Fenway Park in Boston. The Red Sox are minus 185, totals 10.5. We saw a 15-cent fade of Boston and movement downward on the total. The Red Sox open $2 down to 185. Total open 11 down to 10.5. 57% of the consensus is leaning toward the Red Sox. And at the moment, Kansas City is plus 165 on the money line. Boston minus $1.10 on the run line. We have Jake Junis for the Royals, Andrew Cashner for the Red Sox. Cashner is coming into this game with a 4.18 ERA and a 1.26 WHIP. Jake Junis on the other side, 126 strikeouts and just 132 innings pitched. Boston really struggling right now. So I texted Lamar Bowe yesterday. Lamar Bowe, he was one of my co-hosts on my live streams during football season, and I said, man, you may want to get on Boston right now. I got to imagine that the props and their price points to make it to the playoffs right now are pretty high after losing 8 straight. And he said yesterday, before that game, they were only plus 400 to make the playoffs. So do not count Boston out, although they really screwed themselves and they had lost 8 straight. They did pick up a W last night, and that price point isn't too convincing. So the bookmakers, they don't think they are dead in the water yet. But anyway, Boston has dropped 8 out of their last 9 ball games. They've won just 28 out of 57 at home this year. They're 14.5 games back in the AL East. And I remember just a couple of weeks ago, they were cutting that gap down. They were only around 7.5 games back. Now, Boston is 25th in runs allowed at home, 30th in walks allowed at home, which is dead last in Major League Baseball. Now, the Royals on the other side, they're 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Red Sox, 10-2 to the over in their last dozen. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals in this one, plus 1.5, getting the job done for some run line cash in the over. 10.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Marlins, Mets, 7-10, Flushing, Queens. The Mets are minus 220, totals at 8. We saw a 10-cent move toward the Mets and movement downward on the total. New York open 210, up to 220. Total open 8.5, down to 8 flat. 56% are leaning Mets, 58% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Marlins are plus 190 on the money line. The Mets minus $1.30 on the run line. We have Jordan Yamamoto for the Marlins, Zach Wheeler for the Mets. Wheeler's 8-6 with 144 strikeouts. The Mets have won 11 out of their last 12. They're actually making a little bit of a push here for the playoffs. They are right in the hunt. They've won their last 6 straight at home. They're 2.5 games back of that second wild card spot right now. They also rank 4th in striking batters out at home. Now the Marlins on the other side, terrible baseball team. They're 29th in scoring. That's second to last in the league. They're also 29th in walks allowed on average per game as well. So with all that said and done, I got to lean toward the Mets in this one. Give me New York minus 1.5 and the over 8 runs in that game. Next matchup, Athletics, Cubs, 8:05 Chicago, Wrigley Field. The Cubs are minus 135, no line on the total posted as of yet. We did see a nickel fade of the Cubbies in the early wagering. Chicago open $1.40 down to 135. Once again, no line posted on that total as of yet. 52% of the consensus is leaning toward Oakland. And at the moment, the A's are plus 125 on the money line. We have Brett Anderson for Oakland, Big John Lester for the Cubs. Lester comes into this game with a 9-7 record, 3.86 ERA. He also has 116 strikeouts in just 119 innings. Now on the other side for the Athletics, Brett Anderson comes into this game with a 4.04 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP. Now the Athletics have really struggled against the Cubs as of late. As a matter of fact, they've dropped 5 out of their last 6 head-to-head matchups with Chicago, if you're into historical trends. Now, Oakland ranks 19th in hits on average per game. They're also 28th in striking batters out, which is 3rd worst in the major leagues. A couple more things to add about Oakland. They are 9 games back in the American League West. So just keep that in mind. Oakland, very good baseball team. But not perfect. Definitely some shortcomings in some different categories and trends. Now, Chicago, on the other side, they are first in offensive walks at home. They're also virtually unbeatable at Wrigley Field. They're 40-18 in Chicago in the friendly confines. They're also 8-1 in their last 9 at Wrigley as well. Chicago is first in the NL Central, 2.5 games ahead of St. Louis. And they are 4th in runs allowed at home. So although we have no line on the total, we're going to make a nice little lean here toward the sides. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Cubs minus 135, getting the job done for some money line cash. All right, next game we have